The Pownal Select Board meeting to order on November 8th at 7 p.m. For the agenda approval, public comments, approval of the minutes, warrants, mail, town administrative report, amendment to Recreation Department budget adjustment, approved fiscal 18 budget adjustment made from designated funds to expense line. We have a DRB resignation, review personnel policy changes, review travel policy changes, economic development committee member resignation, a new appointments, reminder of initial meeting scheduled for November 14th, 2018 at 6 p.m. in the town office, housekeeping board signatures on past policy and job descriptions, traffic ordinance, second reading, first review of town safety plan, occupational health and worker compensation policy, health insurance discussion on budget and budget report, town hall updates, update on gravel contract, transfer station phase 2 and remediation issues, next select board November meeting date. Under new business, nothing, old business, legal and personnel. Get a motion approved?
Move to approve.
Get a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion, anything be added? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any public comment? Okay, approval of the minutes of 10/25/18.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Warrants. Payroll ending 10/02/18 in the amount of $7,508.69. Payroll ending 11/09/2018 in the amount of $8,074.37. Accounts payable ending 10/02/18 in the amount of $17,673.42. Accounts payable ending 11/9/18 in the amount of $25,197.47. Big ticket items. Yes. Bamboo Company. Maserati LLC, 3,000 something. And IRS for almost 3,000, and the Bank of Bennington for almost 3,000. What's your biggies? Okay. And accounts payable ending 11/10/18 in the amount of $3,448.64. What's your pleasure, guys?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion on any of them? All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Mail.
Yes, sir. First piece of mail is they have a excess weight permit by Greater Heights Tree and Land Management, and it was approved by our road foreman. I request a vote to approve that signature.
Okay, get a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
I'll do this, can I?
I'll second it.
Any discussion on that?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We have errors and omissions 2018 grand list to Barry Townsend. Did not receive a grievance notice in the amount of $2,295.85. And Vermont Transco LLC for a property valuation review. Late entry of $327.12. Request approval of that with signatures. Errors and omissions.
Errors and omissions approval. Need a
So
motion.
moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposes, nays, abstentions? Ayes have it.
She moved this to the agenda, I believe, but I just want to make sure.
If it's
If I
on the
may.
agenda, we can deal
Yeah,
with
we
it
can't,
there.
on the agenda, on the budget. There's a seminar for open meeting law, two-hour regional training. Closest to us will be Thursday, December 6th, 1 to 3 p.m. at the Bennington Fire Facility.
I
And
would,
that's,
I would urge anyone that can go to that to go.
yeah, I'll leave it here in the middle, anybody who's interested.
And it doesn't, no cost, or is there a cost? Page probably.
It is $30 for a VLC team member, 20 for a passive member.
So anybody that wishes to go should notify you or Linda so that we can get it scheduled.
Any of our boards?
Any of the boards, open meeting laws, any and all, actually.
Does passive member mean a citizen can go to it as well?
Sure, if they wish.
No.
No?
But we are a
Pownal
passive member.
We're passive member, yeah.
Because they carry our
Yes, they do.
liability insurance.
VLCT, you'd have to contact them if you wish to go as a citizen, see what they say to you.
Call them in, I guess.
Sir?
Hello?
Hey, good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Bob has joined us via phone at, what's the time?
7:07.
7:07. Okay. So, thanks for calling in, Bob. Okay.
Next mail item, sir?
Yep.
I have a letter from David W. Adams. He's requesting to please be appointed as an internal auditor for the remainder of the election year, March 2019. I highly recommend we accept that.
Is he the one that was doing our audit before?
Yes.
Of course.
Very smart
So-
guy.
Get a motion to accept.
I motion to accept.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, Bob, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ronnie?
Aye.
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 Jason said aye, and I'll say aye. Okay.
I have a sheriff's report. I first want to point out that he has done an amazing job of doing a summation for us. I'll go through. You had 4 911 hangups, 4 agency assists, 2 public.
Which month are you reading?
I'm reading, beg your pardon, September 1st to September 30th.
Okay.
You had 1 burglary, 2 suspicious events, 1 accident with property damage, 3 assists for fire and rescue, 4 motor vehicle complaints, 7 vehicle identification verification, 9 directed patrols, 83
Fire and
traffic
rescue.
stops. Beg your pardon?
Did you?
I'm sorry about that.
Okay. And he has a list of property checks. I'll pass this around, but I gave him a call and thanked him for the new format. It's much, much easier, and I don't have to go through that. We have...
Got one more there for August.
Oh, yeah, you can do it both ways if you want. Yeah, Ronnie, you take a look at that.
That's
So
for a different
isn't that a
month.
different date?
Yeah, it's a
Oh,
different-
is it different date? I thought it was a duplicate. Beg your pardon. Nope, you're right. August 1st, 2018 to August 31st. We had 3 911 hangups, 4 agency assists, 2 public assists, 2 burglaries, 5 suspicious events, 2 accidents, 3 agency assists for fire and rescue, 2 motor vehicle complaints, 5 vehicle identification verifications, 7 directed patrols all over town, and 41 traffic stops. Included in this is all the property checks that they've done. So, beg your pardon for missing that.
I looked at it
That's
already.
fine. Yeah, I've seen it already.
And we have from Bennington County Regional Commission, expense report from Michael Batcher for expenses as of September 30th, and a full report I could pass around to you. I've highlighted Pownal, and I want to commend Tom Chui. He went through the report and he found, and I'll read what errors that needed to be included in this from Tom. Was omitted several times. A list of items he wanted included. We do dispose of fluorescent lights and accept mercury thermostats. We do accept lead acid batteries and button batteries. We accept electronics for recycle, and we accept oil. And
That's at the panel.
at the Pownal facility, and that was not mentioned in here, and Tom caught that right away. So.
Yeah, I've seen it. Thanks.
And then we have the BRC November meeting
Brochure.
news brochure.
Yep.
So that is all the mail.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Time for your report.
All right. We have to amend the amendment, the budget adjustment for the Recreation Department. It was originally, she put down 500, but it is actually 550, and that was last meeting request that you approved the adjustment from 500 to 550 for the Recreation Department line item change.
So we need a motion to amend the previous motion to be 500.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Rob, how do you vote? Bob?
Aye.
Aye.
Jenny said aye.
Aye.
It's not.
Aye.
Ronnie said aye. Nelson says aye. Okay.
Next, we seek approval for a budget adjustment based on the audit being done from designated funds to road prep and construction, moving $200 or debiting designated funds, crediting road prep construction. That treasurer asked me because of request from the auditor. Recommend you approve.
Get a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Bob, aye.
Aye.
Ron, aye.
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 Jenny, it's aye.
Aye.
Jason's aye. I'm aye. Nelson.
I'm aye.
Am I? Am I?
I am aye.
I'm a sailor. Am I? Aye.
Am I aye?
Almost missing an action.
Okay, yeah. Next, we have DRB resignations for David Chui. Request to resign. I recommend you accept that with regrets.
Need a motion to accept with regret.
I motion that we accept with regret the resignation.
Second.
Ronnie's aye.
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
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 And I'll say aye also. And we're gonna put that up, opening on our web.
Actually, I think there's an alternate. I emailed Mr. Smithers and asked if he was going to move the alternate up before we put it on the web. We can always, so depends on,
Okay, we'll wait,
What
then we
move?
can table and wait until then to
yeah.
decide that. Okay.
Personnel policy, did the adjustments to the personnel policy that you asked, struck out the language on the employees asking, or actually telling us if they're employed someplace else. Holidays were fixed. We removed the 1 hour clause from the volunteer response, and we changed the nepotism language. And
Do we have a copy of that one? What's it say on the top? Where-
It's in our package.
it should be either in your packets, or I sent you one that was highlighted via email.
Okay.
Okay, so
So it's the board's pleasure.
Move to
Approve with
approve.
changes.
Move to approve with changes.
Get a
I'll
second.
second it.
Okay, any other discussion? Bob, what's your vote?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
Jenny?
Aye.
Aye.
Jason? Aye. Aye, Nelson.
And this would be a signature copy if you would.
Okay.
Next is travel policy. This is the second iteration, and I did update it, make sure you had the right copy. Mr. Jarvis may not have the right copy. I emailed them. This was changed at your request for employees that do timesheets that are part of their normal duties. And I did include the verbiage on federal mileage rate as you requested. And I would request an approval vote on that. May.
I'll take a motion to approve this with taking effect on January 1st, so all the people will be up to speed on what they have to do. You'll see that they all receive this, our employees that need it and so forth.
Yes,
So-
very much
So
so.
moved.
So, motion to.
Motion to
it.
approve, taking effect January 1st.
I will second
Okay,
the Jason Jenny show.
Hey, Ronnie, what's your vote?
Approve.
Bob?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved.
I got an aye from Jenny,
Aye.
aye from Jason, aye from Nelson.
Signature page.
Yep. Passed. No
Passed.
nays, no ayes.
No nays, no ayes. We have a Economic Development Committee member resignation. Unfortunately, Karen Glees asked to resign. I would recommend you move to accept with regrets.
Thought that we had that last week, is that?
That was
Just see
appointing.
it,
That was appointing.
Move to approve. I mean, move to, with regret, accept her resignation.
Second.
Okay. Okay, Bob, what's your vote?
Aye.
Ron?
Approved.
Aye.
Jenny's,
Aye.
Jason? Nelson, aye.
And on the upside, we have two gentlemen wishing to be on the Economic Development Committee. Have sent me letters. Mr. Benjamin Gelheiser, and he's lived in Pownal his entire life, and looking to see, Val, remember what he did for a living. I beg your pardon. I thought it had a highlight, but I don't. I spoke to him, Mr. Benjamin Galheiser, requested to be on the Economic Development Committee, and I recommend he be appointed, if I may. I'll pass his letter around.
Should we appoint both together, or do you want to do
Yeah,
them
we can do
individually?
Oh, and by the way, here's the highlight. He's an architectural designer.
Okay.
Okay. And then we have Dr. Gerald Petruzella, and resident since 2014. He's been in Bennington County since 2008. And he is ethically designed standards at the electrical and electronics engineer. And he's got quite a resume, and I do recommend Dr. Petruzella also for approval.
I make a motion to approve both
Is that all of
gentlemen.
them?
That's it. That's two of them.
Okay. Get a motion.
Make a
approved.
motion to approve both gentlemen.
Second.
Any discussion? I'll have a little discussion before we vote. Who else now do we have on this committee?
Adam Todorsky and John Gianti. Go ahead.
And you'll be,
Ex officio.
okay. And you've got a meeting that's scheduled for when?
November 14th, 2018, 6 p.m. here in the town office.
So if anybody wants to come to this.
There was someone else who said that he was interested. He chatted with you at the
Yes,
voting. That was
waiting for a letter.
right. That's Jamie Percy.
Okay.
said
So
that he's
we'll
interested,
get a
but
letter.
wait for
We
his
can
letter.
appoint people as we go
Yeah.
along with this.
Yeah.
All right, but I've got a motion for these two. Bob, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
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 And
Nelson, aye. So-
the next item is I have a bunch of policies and job descriptions that you approved. That's the housekeeping thing. If you would put signatures on those, I would appreciate it.
We've already approved these.
Yeah, it's already approved, just a matter of it's housekeeping. At the end of the meeting, sometimes everything gets all jumbled up.
Okay.
My traffic ordinance. As you're signing that, we have next
Is there
that's,
only one place we have to sign on this?
I'm not sure which one you're referring to.
You just sent me the town county social media and some, is that the only one that's here?
You should have,
Yeah, well, the reason why I'm asking is because I'm assuming I'm assigning a multitude here.
not, I wouldn't say a multitude, I think there was a few,
Couple, right.
couple, yeah.
Okay,
I bound them together, so.
all right, this one, we approved already, we'll go around and sign. You
Shall I
have to
continue?
look at it, it's at the last page, actually, it's something somebody else is signing, so,
Shall I continue, Mr. Chairman?
yeah, go ahead.
Also, today is the second notice of reading of the traffic ordinance adoption. From here, it will be posted and warned 3 places in town and on the internet. And wondered if you would take the vote on that, please.
I move to approve the second reading traffic ordinance.
I second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor,
Sorry, what was
Ron?
the motion? I'm sorry, what was the motion for?
To approve the second reading of the traffic ordinance.
It's where the person had asked
Aye.
for 25. Okay. So you got an aye from Bob, Ron?
Aye.
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Okay, and Jenny's aye and I'm aye. Okay, here's the next one.
Next item, this is the first read of the health and safety plan. This, I believe I sent you, but I have a copy here. This is one of those that I respectfully request that you take your time and read through. No rush, I'd rather accuracy and quality than rushing. Thank you for your assistance with this.
No problem.
Took some of your information and as well as passive and the state, so.
So the one thing I do ask is that when we do approve it, if we could just somehow do a brief summary, that we could do an explanation
Sure.
to people without having to read the whole policy, just so people are aware of what our intent is here.
Is
And what we're
there,
looking, and what our savings are gonna be in the long run.
is there anything that you can tell us about it today?
It calls for a section on personal protective equipment, housekeeping, injury reporting, and it goes through each type of item in the workplace, hand tools, ladders, cranes, hoists, powered equipment, talks of lockout, tagouts, working on energized equipment. Hazard communications, looking at hazard identification on things that are not really healthy for you. Goes into confined space entry, fire safety, and if you look at the back, it requires safety inspections, the vehicle safety inspections, and fire safety checklist, electrical safety checklists, and these
Okay.
will be performed by a safety committee that we'll form in the town.
Okay, so this is different than our emergency plan and that. This is
Correct.
strictly to do with reviewing what we
Right.
have and how safe it is to use the equipment or
Correct.
the areas that we go in and so forth.
Correct.
So it's a totally different type of,
Correct. The emergency action plan is posted inside. That we're going to look at for rewrite. It may not need one. But this is a safety plan to keep personnel safe from, if we bring something into the town, a chemical, a cleaning solvent, everyone has a right to know what that is and what effect it'll have
has
on
to
it.
be
But-
labeled properly.
Right. Further, we have to provide some place where if it gets on them, they can take a shower immediately in an emergency and get it off. It has vehicle check sheets to make sure lights are working, they're clean, oil's changed, all
Yeah,
that stuff.
I'm almost happy because we'll go through this again. I just want to know what the generality was because we do emergency plans and we do other plans. I wanted to know how this fit
Yeah.
into that. But it's just another piece of safety for the employees.
And,
for the town.
and it's also in the long run is gonna save us a lot of money in our insurance.
And I can tell you how much because since we're on it, passive, despite the fact that we had major sections of our town that wasn't covered by passive, and we added them, because of these things, we're only going to be up 5% of our insurance premium. I thought that I was like this, worrying about that, but we're only up 5% this year.
Okay.
So based on these things and having those folks down, it paid dividends. So
Okay.
you can, I'll set that in the middle. That's a copy everybody can look at.
You'll send that
Is it the same
electronically to all of us?
I thought I had, but I will send it again if
I
need
think
be.
you did.
If you made changes at all, just,
Yeah, please take your time, go
And
through
it's in our
those.
packets,
Yeah.
yeah.
so we should not
Okay.
have that.
In line with that, we have employee workers' compensation practices and incident reporting medical treatment. These two are required by passive. Our policy for medical treatment, our medical treatment facility now is Southern Vermont Medical Center Occupational Health, and it describes procedures if someone were to receive an injury that provided needed medical care above and beyond first aid. And we also have all the forms that would be needed. So if someone were injured, forward over the forms for accident reporting that go to the health center. The medical treatment and accident investigation procedure is a document that has us go through post-injury, determine whether it was a man-made problem, a mechanical problem, a procedure problem. And once we form the safety committee, we'll be reviewing those on a regular basis to make things better. And that is, again, very important. I would like you to take your time and go through that.
Okay.
Right. Next is another major topic. I've attended a couple of seminars, presentations, made a bunch of phone calls, and we are down to healthcare. This is the healthcare plan.
And you've discussed this with all of our help?
Yes, discussed it with everyone. In fact, we were. They all checked to make sure their doctors were in the plan. They have any questions or concerns during the day on the 14th, the representative from MVP, which I'll be discussing in a second, will be Skyping, and anybody that wants to attend that can do so. We used to have, we have now Blue Cross Blue Shield of Vermont, and we're on the Platinum Standard Plan. Identical plan for MVP is we're saving $8,000 going to this plan. It's identical. The rates are lower, almost 9% lower than Blue Cross Blue Shield. I want to be upfront with you. This was tough because last thing I want to do is take something that's working despite being more costly. I made phone calls. I talked to people. I wanted to make sure that we were getting a good product with that. And I have found nothing to suggest that MVP is anything less than a quality agency. So, again, questions. I want to pass these around. I highlighted.
Okay, and you said the difference in cost between the two is substantial? Or
Yeah,
minor?
very substantial. It's almost a 9% savings, roughly $8,000, a little over $8,000 savings to the town
A year.
a year.
And this would start the 1st of January if we were to,
Yeah, we'd have to enroll.
so we still have a little bit of time to decide. and
Again,
discuss
to look
it,
them over.
talk.
Big decision. So if anybody or anything that I need to know about, please, because we want to take care of our employees. And to me, $8,000 and making sure our employees are healthy is,
And what's the difference in, it's nice to have an $8,000 savings. I know that there's a percentage our employees have been paying.
that's less.
This would be a,
They're written down. I wrote them down. I pen and ink them next to the bottom left-hand corner.
on one of these. So this is what, so they'd have a lower payment themselves.
Correct. Lower monthly payment.
Okay.
As would we.
Yeah, but I just wanted to make sure that if we're getting a cut, they get a cut.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They get a cut.
That's
Okay.
great.
So,
First of all, people.
yeah, I would not ask for an approval until everybody takes a look at that, and we
Yeah.
have everyone's doctors in the plan. They've already talked, but
So,
I want them to meet.
so our sewer plant personnel have looked at this? Has Darcy and her people?
I'm not sure Darcy's on the plan, but they're all invited. Yeah.
They need to review it as well.
Sure.
And then, of course, the road crew will.
Road Crew, Linda's.
We looked into it.
Yeah, yeah, she's on it.
So far, it looks good.
I really like that it breaks down, it's not just single or family, but it's single or couple, or single parent and child.
Correct.
Or family, which
It
is
makes that distinction.
so much better than,
Yeah, well, I just
lot of
want to make sure
plans.
that everyone's on board, that we don't surprise anyone. Okay.
So that's going on. Budget and budget report. What was that other document? Oh, we already did that. Budget approval. Okay. First of all, we're still working on the budget. We've been through highway, admin. I've talked a little bit to Julie, but we haven't really gone into the depth. And we're making progress on getting our budget squared away. Right now, we're doing really well. Still collecting information. For example, the IT contractor's just giving me his prices. I'm trying to get prices for what our fire alarm is going to cost us per year. I want to make sure energy costs are in there. Raises are in there, so they'll be budgeted for. I'm trying to make sure we have everything that we need and want, capital equipment type of thing. So we're going to go through it fine tooth comb. We started early, just to that end.
So by somewhere in early December, this board will be able to go through this budget with you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. As far as the current budget, we have received to date almost $3 million in taxes. And that's going very well. Very low number of delinquents. Going through the budget, there was a couple of places, and I'm highlighting this not to be disparaging. Election expenses, likely this is going to go over budget. So these are the things that I want to identify this year so we can budget for them next year and make sure we're doing well. As far as our other departments, highway is under budget. Not by a ton, but they're doing very well. He brings all his receipts in. We talk about purchases, doing very well as the general fund. The general fund is below. And see, gravel and sand is slightly over, but we know about that, and we're working to remedy that. His maintenance, equipment maintenance, and wages and payroll are all under. And that's phenomenal since he's had unforeseen repairs. He's got some bills coming in, but other than that. And In total, we're roughly $350,000 under budget at this time. Winter's gonna change that, so we're gonna be plunging ahead.
Yep.
And,
We're skipping winter this year.
huh,
I put in an order,
for,
skipping winter this year.
you did?
Yeah.
Where's that
Sorry,
on
Joel.
the, is that a line item
Good, no.
that I have?
Yeah, no, it's not on the agenda, but I did put in an order.
Fine with me.
And you,
Yeah.
I don't think you'll be surprised, but Darcy's under by about $130,000, and she's spot on. So, we're paying close attention, we're making sure that we're on, and we're making sure that we identify, if we need line items, we make line items. If we need to, increase the budget, we're gonna justify it, and I'll let you know.
Well, I have a question on,
Sure.
where are we with our new truck that's ordered, our new highway truck?
That's, should be on, in January, you said, right?
It's going directly up to Viking, but it'll be January, February.
Okay.
Which in and of itself is costing us money, because you gotta repair the old truck to get it on the
Right,
road for
I just-
snow.
I
Yeah,
know we hadn't heard anything on that.
And but when it comes, it's fully loaded. You're all set. It hits the highway, you got plow, sand, everything's there.
Yes,
Then-
that's the way we ordered it, yeah.
Yeah.
And
I'm
another-
not saying in the past, I know we ordered these things and we wait for them, then we have to go through. I just wanna make sure people understand that it's fully, it's
Yes.
ready. When it gets here, it's working.
Yes, yeah.
and another point that needs to be brought up, just an illustrative example. I've been told, I haven't been here for a winter, but this area is really bad, getting the door open, snow, and we've talked about different alternatives, and essentially, Joel and I talked, and we're gonna try to get, on those days when we need it, either me or the highway guys come out down here and shovel, because we just don't have the money. We looked at having, the gentleman that does our grass, we wouldn't have enough money to cut grass in the spring, so we're not gonna do that. We're gonna do it ourselves.
Okay, well, when we do budget, we need to look at that. see if we-
Absolutely, and again, that's exactly what I mentioned, so.
Okay, good.
Town Hall. The ballot article for the Historical Society passed. As I speak, I've got, I can't finish this matrix you asked me to do because I still don't have enough information. Hoscott is supposed to come back with more details, as is Line Sync. All of these folks have come in and talked to everybody in Town Hall.
Good.
Okay, everybody in Town Hall has had significant input. With the exception of William Scotsman. They're not from this area. They submitted one, and they've been in contact with me regularly. So I'll be looking forward to the discussion of how we to proceed further. I have written an RFP,
Okay.
so I'm ready to go with that.
I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but here's where I am with this. What we need to do is to get these things together so that when we go out to a town vote for this, which we're gonna need to do, I think we need to be ready to put a list of whatever we got on the ballot article so that the people can choose what they want. And I think March, we should have this all done by. That gives you plenty of time, I think, between November, December, January, and February. You get 4 months to get this all together.
So does that mean that you can have a ballot article that says choose A, B, C, or D?
We have a ballot article that says choose justice of peace, 1 through 10.
Right, okay, and so, is there a way to have a ballot article that says give your first, second, third choice?
Well, you're gonna get that by the vote. You don't have to say first, second, or third.
No, if you have 70 people vote yes on A, and 60 people vote yes on B, and 10 people vote yes on their second choice is A, and 70 people vote
not gonna
on,
make
you
it that-
can't do it that way.
We're not gonna make it that
I'm not gonna get
complicated.
into that, I hope.
No.
Okay.
They're
I was
gonna do a
asked,
vote.
I was asked, listen,
What concerns me,
I was asked by a citizen, I'm forwarding the
that's fine.
question.
there's two other possibilities, and that's the roast. And then the architect from Line Sync said, well under $100,000, if we had the church, he could renovate that and make it a town hall. Now, this, what you suggest, what concerns me is, if the voters can choose one, we still have to go to bid. And the one that they choose may not be the most responsible bidder.
No, but what I'm thinking of is that we're gonna go to bid and get quotes for each one, and when we go to vote, we're gonna vote which one to build and bond. So in other words, if I vote for A and it's $1 million and everybody else does, we're gonna go out and bond $1 million and build that item. Are we gonna be ready to do that in March?
I don't
Do you
see
have
why-
that quote?
Let's step back here. We're gonna bid each, we're gonna do 4 bids. We're gonna bid on 4 different projects.
Yep.
What if somebody else wanted to bid?
They all can get to bid on it. You put an RFP
No, I'm
out
saying
on-
somebody that hasn't given us, somebody, we send this bid out, and then somebody comes in and says, I want to bid on this project, and they're not on that ballot, and they're the most responsible bidder.
Well, for a site.
You mean to come in with a totally different plan? Then
Correct.
you would be writing an RFP that would say, hey, we want a total cost, come in with your things, and these people that you have here would be doing the same thing. They'd all be coming in with their price for their project. If you're gonna do an RFP that says, I want you to give me a turnkey town office, how much? And give me the description of the office that meets these criteria, you're gonna have a turnkey bid. Someone will say, I'll be able to build you that with X amount of square foot, and each office is gonna have X, and here's how much I'm gonna do it for. And you say yay or nay to that person. You either, the only other way is if you go out and do a bid that says, which one do you want?
No,
And then we go out for bids.
Yeah.
What I suggest is we've looked at 4 plans. We look at them, we go, they're great, these are all what we want, do an RFP, let them come in with their details and pick one. That would be my suggestion. It seemed
But when you say pick one, who are you saying pick one?
most responsible bidder. Most responsible bidder. So each of these entities, we've seen their plans, we know that we can do this. We know what we like as you as a board and I as an administrator. The next step would be to issue an RFP with total cost for the bond article. And they bring in their formal proposals with their detailed drawings.
I think that's what I just said, and they give us a total cost, and we can either do it. They're gonna give us a total cost for the structure, and when they come in and that their item will say, I'll pick on the roofs. Chapman comes in and says, I can totally convert this building and meet your requirement for X amount of dollars. That's A. The next one would be B, line sinks. I can give you everything you want for X amount of dollars. And here, and then you as a voter is gonna choose which one based on what you wanna pay. You might wanna pay $1 million, you might not wanna pay $750 because you don't feel it. And all the plans are shown.
If I may, is that how you're gonna list it? Is that what's gonna be on the ballot?
Pick one,
That the Historical Society will be
one of them.
$590? Just
Pick one.
just what it is and the cost.
That's right.
No other criteria, no other information.
The
The
criteria,
voter is gonna decide on cost alone.
they will be shown the plans at a public meeting, just like,
That's good. That's
and
what
you're gonna put all these plans up, you're gonna have people come and look at all these plans before they vote. And then the next
it.
day when they vote, they vote.
Got it.
And it's gonna be basically, pick one of these. It's not gonna be, we have to have a new town office. We don't have the option
Right.
of not having a
We
new
can't-
town
we
office.
cannot
We can't have none of the above.
I think you can do
It
that
has
with a
to be one of
design.
them.
I don't think you can do that with a total project, because I think the bonding company is gonna require it to go out to bid.
We're gonna,
Once you decide what you're gonna do for a plan, a
That-
design, I think you're gonna have to go out to bid.
no, we're gonna have to go out to bid on that project. We'll have to look it up. You'll have to ask the bonding company if we have to go to bid, or if we get a turnkey price from these companies that the people vote on.
I'm certain we have to go to bid. It's,
You know, well, we are asking for a bid, and
Right.
technically, we're asking for a bid. We're telling them to give us a price as a bid.
But is it a competitive bid? That's what they're gonna be requiring.
Anybody's able to do this right now. We've got 4 or 5 people already coming in. Anybody can wish out there, and we certainly have had enough RFPs out there to have people bid on town halls for our place. Any of them can come in and make a proposal and say, here's the cost that we would do this square footage, and here's how we meet your criteria.
So the town is voting on the
What we
bidders.
need to know, what you're stating is whether the bonding company will accept that as the bid process.
Right.
But, you're right, but the confusion I see is you're not gonna have apples to apples.
No,
No.
the voters are gonna look at each plan and they're gonna decide what they want for a town hall.
Yeah.
We're not
We're gonna
gonna,
educate them on that process? How are we gonna?
we're gonna have a couple
Well, that
hearings.
was my question.
You have to have some
Because I
hearings.
think that there's
Big
certain
difficult.
people that have the ability to decide that are gonna have that knowledge. But I think there are other people that aren't.
Most will decide
When
on.
That's
people go to
democracy.
vote for anything, they're not gonna have the total knowledge that you're talking about. When they walk in that voting booth and vote for something, you think that they have done every bit of information gathering and
No, but I
every.
think that's our job to provide that, for them to make that
And
decision.
that's what I'm saying, we're gonna do that. We'll have all the plans, we'll have hearings, and we'll let them go vote.
Yeah,
Other-
you're gonna need several hearings, I think, on that.
It's
Once
their
you narrow
job to
it
come
down.
to the hearings.
Yeah.
But you can't, that's
know,
democracy.
something-
And,
Each-
and
you have a vote.
each company that's presenting something will be there to present their case. They can stand up and say, here's why mine's greater and here's why I can build it.
Yeah. It's the only way.
Well,
It's not the only way.
I explain, may I?
The other-
It's worked for 20
Mr.
years.
Chair, what I have done in the past is you direct me to do an RFP for a town hall. Now, we have drawings that all match the criteria for the town. I have an RFP written. I issued the RFP. Now we have people come in with their bids. Now we interview and pick the most responsible bidder and build the town hall. That's how I've played out the process before. The caveat being that voters have already expressed that they want you to support the Historical Society. That's, that, if I just want to make sure that we get enough responsible bidders. But do the RFP, they come in, now we have a series of people, we interview them.
If you want to do the RFP the way you're talking about, the RFP would go out, it would go out to the people that are right now presented things to us, and they would come back with their information and put it in front of us to be, because you could have somebody else with an RFP when you send it out, but you're gonna send it to more people than these,
Well, we're going to post it and publish it.
right? Then you're gonna have these people come back, and the people that are here with the current plans will also be amongst those RFPs, and we'll look at them all, we'll list them all, and what the prices are for each one. And the question that comes up then, does this board at that point select who's gonna build it, or do we let the voters choose? Because the voters in the end have to vote for the bond to pay for whatever it is.
And
And they might not like what we choose as the
it
building.
seems like something's missing. So do we have to have an engineer review? I mean, do we have to, is everybody gonna be required to have an engineer's stamp on their proposal?
That is part of what the people have to educate themselves in when they review what's being presented to them. The RFP's
I
gonna
would
have
think
that.
we
The
would have that person that can do that.
The RFP should have that in its specification. That it wants certified architectural drawings, if that's what they wish. We did that in the past. And they had to meet certain state and federal regulations. And those are the ones that presented their cases, and we saw what we had. We had everything from 4 million to 1.2 million that we had to chisel down. So basically, it's up to you guys, but I don't have any problem with people saying that you gotta have an architectural drawing certified for your plan. That means somebody's gotta pay for an engineer to do that and stamp it, but that's their choice.
At this point, that RFP is being reviewed by my colleagues. I'm just
Yeah.
sending it out there to have it reviewed and make sure I'm doing
Yep,
correct things.
yep. I can give you a copy of I'm sure they're up there. If you look in that folder with all the ones from the previous, there's 2 or 3 RFPs for different times. And they have all those specifications that they have to not only give us certified plans, but they had to give us all the history of the people that were doing the drawings, so you know what schooling and stuff they had. Then we went with that. But that will guarantee you that the cost that comes back for this will be much more than it is today. I don't know if the rest of the board agrees with that or not, but I think you'll find that
If-
the cost will be substantially more than 600,000.
Well, I want to make sure I'm clear because I'm going to do this. When they go before the voters, we'll have seen detailed drawings.
Yes, that's what your RFP is gonna say.
That's about $60,000 to get engineered plans that we've given out for conceptual drawings and base list. But for them to go out and do a detailed drawing, each of them, I don't know who's gonna wanna drop that kind of money to have an engineer.
Well, and maybe you don't want detail, because we didn't do detailed drawings yet either. That was later when we went to bond. They
Correct.
would have to do the detailed drawings, but they provided enough adequate information that people knew what they were voting on. And again, you can look at what was there in the RFPs. They came in with drawings. They were more like what you call
Conceptuals.
conceptual drawings, because they weren't showing wiring and plumbing and the drawings of the walls and the stuff and how, they weren't construction drawings. They were conceptual. And that's the sort of drawings you
Floor
want.
plans.
Yeah.
Site plans.
And that's what you're gonna wanna see with a cost. And they can provide a cost with something, sort of what I was doing with the Historical Society, with a not to exceed clause that the estimate is this, but it will not exceed this, by adding basically 15% to their cost. Because we knew we wanted a different safe and some other things that might have to be put in there by statute or regulations, which was lifts and stuff, which would have added 100,000 to their cost. So basically, that's the sort of thing that we need from these people that are presenting these other items. Whatever it is, we just need to have a conceptual, reasonable cost factor that'll meet code.
Just an
And
insight.
either,
But there's more to code. There's more than just code.
oh, yeah,
There's yeah,
Do we own the church? Just wondering.
we
Yeah.
do.
the church, we and the church, the group that's in the church own it. It's a joint ownership. But the state that the church is in, I'm sure we could allow them maybe to have their meetings here if they gave us the church.
I know in the past, for instance, our salt shed, we hired somebody to find out what our needs were by meeting with our highway folks and come up with a design. Then we went out to bid to a whole
Meet those designs.
right, and we had the builder come in, Naylor came in and basically presented what he would do and his design. But I still think we need to
But
have,
be careful, because 3 walls with a cement,
of course,
foundation
I'm just talking
without
about the
electrical and
process. I'm
plumbing
talking
and
about the process.
Yeah.
We hired someone to do that, and I think in a situation like this, I think when you're talking this kind of money in a project of this magnitude, you need to have. I would think you need to have an engineer first decide, look at what our needs are going to be, and make sure
And sign
that
off on it.
they're going to make all these different things here are going to meet our needs and going to meet, quality. I mean, there's a whole line of things that are going to have to, I think we're way too broad.
let me ask you a question. Did the rescue squad hire an engineer to design and build their building?
I don't know. No
Yes,
idea.
Hoscott has an engineer. An engineer
His brother's an
looked at the
engineer.
plans.
Yeah, that's right, North Hoosick.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
And as he's
And
looking at these plans.
actually, he's the engineer that designed the salt shed.
Yeah, Bill.
Bill Cottrell. That's right.
yeah, so, and maybe that's the requirement then, that an engineer has to
Right.
sign off on them. I don't have any trouble with having an engineer sign off on them.
So I have a question. I know that Sunderland had recently just completed a brand new town office
Yes.
building. There's another town I believe that did too.
Castleton too, I
Yeah.
think.
Castleton, maybe even
Looked at 'em.
There today.
So
There's 4 or 5.
would it be worth it to look in to see how they did their process?
I did.
Okay.
As you described, they went out,
Okay.
they put out an RFP. Folks came in with conceptual drawings and plans. They did their resume. As did Hoscott. He came in with the plans and he said, engineer looked at it. It's not a stamped drawing because it doesn't have wires, pipes, and so forth. But the engineer looked at it and said, "Yeah, go. He can do the building." He looked at the concrete, the roof, alarm systems, and he basically estimated. I'm thinking probably fairly accurately what he could do. So then they did just what they selected a builder and commissioned him and went for a bond. The gentleman that built Sunderland told me he kind of took a loss on it. It was a pretty low price. He wouldn't be able to do it for that.
Okay, Bob, I haven't heard from you and we haven't spoke. Do you want to say anything to this?
Not a whole lot. The more I hear it, the more I like the building we're in. It's a tough process. There's a lot to do.
Yes, I agree. Okay, thanks, Bob. So it sounds like you're going to go away. You're working on an RFP, and then you'll be back to us and tell us what the next step you feel it should be once the RFP.
Well, Ronnie, how do you feel about it? What do you think? You're in the construction business to a degree.
Yeah, well,
He knows what the state is too.
yeah, I know what the state is also. But anyway, I think that we got conceptual drawings, supposedly. And we've got to, that is actually, I don't see where this is so complicated myself. It's the size of the building, the size of the rooms, what it's going to do, the construction, what it's made out of, and everything. So as far as I'm concerned, it seems to me if we had, I mean, are these plans, are they everybody's plans? Is it one person's?
No,
plans?
there's,
The conceptual drawings ought to be just, they
There's several-
should all be the same.
Well,
They've talked to the people in here. What do you want?
there's
One
some-
guy don't want
you-
them, another guy does.
you'd have to come in, they're on my desk, you come in and you can take a look at them, I'll add whatever I can, but there are differences. I don't have line sinks back yet, but there are differences, and again,
What, significant differences, or just
Not real.
a little movement here or there?
Not much.
One room a little bigger or whatever, a little smaller.
not much, mostly,
That's the thing that gets me, and I mean, because I know that you got to get this stuff in order to comply with the state. The state is, they're going to send down their inspector, and they're going to look at stuff, and they're going to tell you, and they'll let you go ahead and proceed wrong
Sure will.
if you don't present it to them ahead of time. Then they'll come down and want you to redo. And that's what I don't like about it. But.
Yeah.
The other option is to put on the ballot, rather than each bidder or each person who's bidding on it, to say, do you want a stick building? Do you want to renovate the church? Do you want to go to the Roost? Or do you want what is it
Modular.
called? Modular. And just give those 4 choices. And then go to bid on whichever choice is chosen.
or you could cut me
You would have
loose,
2 modulars.
or you can cut me loose, let me do an RFP, bring you in drawings and proposals, and choose.
Yeah, yeah. I think you need to do the RFP. I agree with Jason in that sense. So we can say that the RFP is out there. RFP's out there. Then we're going to have prices. Then at that point, we need to know if we have these prices from the RFP, is that good enough for the town in order to do bonding, or do we have to go to bid? Because and I think we'll have to go to a vote for bonding. So don't get me the fact that we don't have to do a vote, because we do. But is it good enough that if we have a vote for that amount of money, that they'll bond us?
Well, the RFP would give us bid selectees,
That's right.
and we would select who the bidder was, the most responsible bidder. And the responsible bidder doesn't necessarily mean cheapest, it means
That's right.
meet our needs.
Because, and in the RFP, my concern would be, one's gonna spec a different type of roof material, one could do a standing seam, one could do an architectural shingle. I mean, there's different wall
Absolutely.
construction, there's different insulation, there's different heating systems, you know what I mean?
And once you
There's-
select
Fire
that
rock,
builder,
not
we
fire
all
rock.
sit down with them and go, we want that wall over here.
Right.
What kind of roof covering? No, we want slate. That's where you do that.
Right.
And then
I mean,
they move money
And
from
I
this
know
column to
when we
that column.
talked about the safe and the vault, there's a 2-hour burn time rating.
Yeah, it's
There's a
4
6-hour, there's a 10-hour. I mean, what are we looking?
We're fireproof.
Period.
Yeah, for a prefab safe to come in and be assembled, at least in the roost structure, it's $30,000. I've got that cost out, but all of the drawings have safes. That was a requirement.
Right, but there was different, what we found the last time with the last proposal, so I'm told, there were many different ratings on.
Well, one had a
what-
And,
4
and,
hour.
and what I'm saying is, once you pick the most responsible bidder, then you sit down and you go, okay, he brings you drawings and you say, no, can't have a 2-hour rated safe, gotta have a fireproof safe, gotta have at least 8 hours. And they've gotta comply with that. And then that's when you start talking, okay, well, that's gonna cost this much. What are we gonna do over here? What kind of flooring do we want? Do we want this open cathedral ceiling with hammer trusses, or do we want engineered lumber and a lower ceiling? That's where you do all these details. You're looking for a responsible bidder that you want to build, got a conceptual drawing, what your town hall is gonna look like. Now you gotta get in the weeds. You know, literally, he's gonna bring you a drawing, you're gonna go, I want an outlet here, I want an outlet here.
Right.
We want sinks over here, this is where we want the kitchen, this, that's where you get into that, and you start going through those detailed drawings and making things work. But you gotta pick you gotta pick somebody who's the most responsible bidder, and then run with it.
Well, you need somebody that's gonna work with you on all that stuff you just talked
Oh,
about.
they have to, we're paying for it. Yeah, they have to, we sit with them, and I've done this before, we go, absolutely not.
You don't build a modular home until we tell you what the inside's gonna look like.
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. I've sat with these folks and sometimes for very long times, and and move things around and brought demand that, hey, no, we can't afford that siding. We have to have another type of siding, and work through that. And that's, once you pick a responsible bidder, you like the conceptual drawing, you like where it's going to go, like the site plan, bingo. We take that bidder and then we start working towards. We know we're going to bond X amount, and we got to stay within that, and then we start going through the drawing.
Okay.
So are we gonna decide, so we're confident that the taxpayers are gonna decide which of the, whether we're gonna go with a roofs and renovated or brand new construction?
I think that'll be.
That's gonna be one vote.
That's gonna be a decision of the select board at the time you get the information.
Okay.
At this point, we
Good.
don't have enough information, I think, to make that decision.
Okay.
Because if the information, the way I looked at it was that we had engineering drawings. You put up the 5 plans or whatever number of plans, you have people come through a number of hearings, just like you do with town plan or anything else. They look at all these things and they pick at what the outside looks like, what the inside's gonna look like, and they make then a decision on which town hall they want. We're not gonna have that by the sound. What we're gonna have is a conceptual floor plan and a drawing of the outside, conceptual drawing of the outside. And in that case, the question comes up, should the board that'll be sitting here at that time make the decision on which one to choose, which they can do, and then they go to a bond vote, at which point the people then make a decision whether they agree with you or don't agree with you.
Okay.
I'm going to make clear, engineered drawings, these are blueprints. You stack a roll like this.
We know,
I've gone through these things.
Yep.
And it's got, here's the wiring, and down here is a legend.
Yeah,
So you gotta go
we've
through
done-
these with fine tooth comb.
Are you gonna get with somebody and put out a specification book? You know what I mean, a list of specifications,
You,
the way you wanna do it, get together maybe with an engineer, somebody of your choosing, an architect, or whatever, and put together a list of specs, so when you put it out to bid, everybody is bidding,
Yes.
on 2x6 wall construction versus 2x4, whatever.
Yes.
like Jason.
Yes.
Right, and we
I'd
did
like to
that the
say
last
something
time.
on that before we get all on, because I think we're confusing everybody now, I'm thinking.
yeah.
We got it. I think the people should be involved and how much it costs.
That's right.
I think that's what should be set out there. How much are we willing to spend, folks? We can do these things for say, well, I don't, we'll just take a round number. We could do it for $500,000, or we can do it for $1.5 million. Where do you want to be?
That's right.
If the people say, oh, well, we want $1.5 million, well, there you are.
Didn't we just vote on
Then the people
750?
spoke.
Yeah, I suggest they
We
were.
just voted on 750.
Well, we didn't, though.
That
We
was-
voted on.
that was only to
that's
keep
not what the
them in
vote
the
was.
mix.
That's what, exactly right.
Okay.
I mean, it was that.
It was- the
that
vote
was kind
was-
of a strange vote
it-
too.
it
I mean,
was,
it
I
ain't-
know.
I mean, all I'm saying is, and we're going around, and I believe 100%, like Joel, where he was headed there. If you've got a plan, that's why I said, are these plans all similar, or this or that? Well, if you've got a conceptual plan,
And I have an
well, you
RFP
say, well, look,
with what he asked.
Here's what we want.
And I have an RFP with requirements. Again, you can cut me loose and do an RFP, and we've got a town
I
hall.
think we should do it.
Just do it.
I agree.
And see
I
who
just
we
want to
get.
make sure, you know, we're all on the same page with square footage,
Absolutely.
you know, and we're
Room sizes,
room
things like that.
sizes and, right, you know what I mean?
Number of
They're all-
bathrooms
they-
and all
Right,
that.
they all have, you know,
Safes. All
right,
that stuff.
square footage is a big one, you know, comparable square footage in all in our rooms. The heating systems, I think, roof materials, siding,
Energy efficient,
yeah.
all that. Standard RFP stuff. Okay, so if the board's in agreement, we're gonna do an RFP, we're gonna see what we get, and the people that have already brought drawings, they can just submit their drawings if they wish, and their information. Is that where we're at?
Yes.
Okay. Bob, you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Go do your thing.
Thank you, sir. Gravel contract. Joel's here. Joel, you want to weigh in on the gravel contract where we are?
We're still waiting.
Why don't you come closer so that it can pick you up
We're
on the camera?
actually still waiting on the people. We just need a signed
Contract.
permission, contract to go on their land and do some test holes.
They've had family emergencies that have precluded them from signing the contract at this point.
Okay.
We're waiting on that.
Test holes are roughly $1,600 to $1,800 a day for the machine. They can do 50 to 100 feet a day, depending. Some of them could only do 50, some of them 50 to 100. They pull samples every 5 feet or every 10 feet. They like to do 5 feet, so you know what's going on and know what's in there.
But at this point, we're waiting for a contract signature.
Right.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
You folks did the approval. We're just waiting for their signature and then we'll move forward.
And then we'll, let you know and
That's the delay.
Okay.
go from there.
Next item is transfer station. We all know that the West landfill site had a phase 1 environmental study that said we have to have a phase 2. Bennington County Regional Commission had Johnson and Company do a proposal of the phase 2, but that's all they'll do. They wouldn't pay us to do it, $53,700. So I went for a brownfield grant. It's denied. Not only was it denied, but the state said you are now mandated to do the phase 2 and mandated to fix it. That was a rough day. So where that leaves us is I've actually started, because it's a real long process, using that RFP that we already have the plans on how to do the phase 2. I'm going for a revolving loan fund from the state to do the phase 2, and the payment would be deferred and tied into whatever remediation action. I've got a long time to put this thing together. I've done an RFP for that. So because a lot of the stuff on the application has to be from an engineer. So I have to do an RFP first, pick an engineer, and then continue that so that we can get the phase 2 and then ultimately go into a remediation phase, which will be a whole nother application, by the way.
Yep.
So is that the direction the board would like me to go? I'm doing that. I started that without a vote because it's a long process and I don't have to continue it if you don't want, but I can do that if you want.
So at this point, you're doing an RFP, that's what I'm hearing?
Correct.
Yeah, because I don't have any trouble with you doing an RFP, because once we have a right that once the people come in with whatever the bids they have to say no or whatever, take different action. And I don't know about the rest of the board, what their thoughts are on that. You want me to go out with the RFP to see what it's gonna do for the next phase?
Sure.
Absolutely. If that's what you're recommending, I
Yeah,
suggest we
that's
go with that.
the only way to go. I know. I'm looking at other stuff, but I found
And that's
anything.
fine, because even once you get that, we know what the cost is, then there might be something changing upstate that'll allow you to go for money different ways.
We may know somebody upstate by then.
I hope. I hope.
Is this thing
Doesn't
on?
mean he'll know anybody up there, but
And that's, thank God, all I got.
Oh, you said you have next select board meeting date.
Oh, next select board meeting day, please. That would be, I was gonna ask you, what, today's the
December
8th?
or we.
Yeah,
no,
we
you
have to,
got-
December
got-
9th, I believe.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you got Thanksgiving in here, so you're not gonna do it
First week in
then.
December?
And then on the other one, you've got a firehouse thing that you're gonna go first week in December, so.
Yeah,
it'll
but
be
there's November 29th There's a fifth Thursday in
Oh, there is.
November. Yeah.
So, question, do we have anything that's pressing that we're gonna have to
There's,
This is through the
foresee? And I mean,
holidays.
it is holiday season, I'm thinking
Some people
some of
gonna
it's
go
gonna
away.
slow down a little bit here, but I'm just thinking that if we have anything pressing, then I think it's important we have something sooner.
how about if something pops up that we really need to get together, I'll let you know.
Okay,
Okay, I would rather
Sounds
have,
good
I would
for me.
rather have him spending his time on the RFP and our budget, because
two
If you don't
RFPs, right?
get the RFPs done, and then the other thing is, he's gonna talk about budget, so when you come to December, you're gonna have to be ready on budget, so I'd rather have him getting all that stuff ready than have you plan for another long list to give us a talk on the 29th of where things are. I'd rather, let's get some big things done.
December 9th, we may need nourishment.
Well, on the 9th, you're gonna go to this thing, I assume, so it won't be until the following week, so.
Before we move on, I have something, and it's not on the agenda and it doesn't need to be. I've already checked with Vermont. City of Leeds and town. I hereby announce that I am resigning from the Select Board. I will officially step down when we emerge from executive session tonight. I do not do this lightly. I have weighed this decision with more thought than any other important decision in my life. More than which college to attend, more than upending our lives to leave New York City, and more to move to Vermont to be close to my ailing mother over 12 years ago. More than upending our financial security to leave my well-paying job at Williams College in 2011 to help physically care for my mother. I ran for the Select Board after becoming involved in the Empower Pownal exercises last summer. My father died shortly after my mom, and my husband and I realized we were now here because we loved it and finally allowed roots to grow. I have lived in my house longer than I have ever lived anywhere in my life. I finally had time and energy to get more involved in this town that I love. I was flabbergasted by the folks who conspired a controversy over this united program called Empower Pownal. The first day of exchanging ideas was invigorating. I looked around and saw faces that I realized could and would become friends. My Pownal social world has become rich and marvelous because of that program. I was embarrassed and disheartened by the vitriol at the second meeting and fake no-dots that removed things like a playground, a splash pad. Flash forward to our launching of Discover Pownal that was created to help promote and support all the committees and their various activities that came out of Empower Pownal. We are in the process of acquiring a 501c3 so that we are financially transparent and can continue to offer food and events for only $5. By the time we founded Discover Pownal, I figured the same people would come up with more conspiratorial ideas about us, but it was beyond even my wildest imaginations. Fred Miller describes us as Discover Pownal socialists. What does that even mean? I was accused of conflict of interest because I signed a resolution for a municipal planning grant application that recognized we were one of the organizations supporting that application. In fact, when Michael asked me to write the support letter, I said I shouldn't because that could be perceived as conflict of interest. Little did I know that doing my elected job and signing the resolution could cause such drama. Mr. Jarvis wrote email after email about it. He took to Facebook about it. It's exhausting. Since joining the board, every initiative I have proposed has been, in one way or another, obstructed or interfered with by Mr. Jarvis. We were both appointed to the hiring committee for the town administrator, and within moments he was sending me emails ordering me around. He did everything he could to obstruct the process that had been in motion for 2 years. The surprising thing was that we worked well together on that committee, and once it finally got going, it gave me some hope that he could be as reasonable and thoughtful on the select board. I was wrong. Next, I launched our town newsletter. I worked for hours on it every week. I received overwhelming personal positive response to it. Every week, Mr. Jarvis would send the entire newsletter back in a Word document with track changes and criticism. I never asked for his editing services. I finally had enough, and I stepped down from doing it, even though I loved it, and instead launched the Discover Pownal newsletter. It has been a wonderful success, and I've only received positive feedback. Those are only a couple of examples of the nonsense behind the scenes initiated by Mr. Jarvis. He has violated open meeting law with group emails for the entire time he has been on the board, despite being informed it was a violation. I have several examples that I will give in legal. He has hounded our new town administrator, Mr. Walker, daily. The latest being in regard to the false accusation that I somehow colluded with Mr. Walker and the chair, Nelson Brownell, about a letter written by citizen Donna Lausen about the town purchase of gravel for Clayton Park and a petition I had never seen. That petition apparently has 170 or so names saying that no monies should go to anything associated with the Empower Pownal process. It was accompanied by a letter that said, among other language to induce fear and suspicion, quote, "These discussions are being advertised as the town coming together to democratically decide what it wants. However, the goals of the program are to build a, quote, climate economy, unquote, and to encourage projects that combat climate change regardless of what we want as a town." No, there is no hidden agenda. There never has been. So back to the letter. I never saw this letter until about a week and a half after it was written. I did not know about it until Ms. Lausen came to the meeting a week after sending it. Much has been made by Mr. Jarvis and Ms. Lausen in multiple emails and on social media about the fact that I wrote an email to her saying, quote, "enough." The referenced email was a response to something she put on Front Porch Forum, a social media platform, the very same one where she outlined her issues just recently. That post included the following, quote, "The harm done by ordinary citizens, murderers, gangsters, and thieves is negligible in comparison with the agony inflicted upon human beings by the professional do-gooders." I clicked the link that allows one to reply to the author and wrote, "enough." The fact that our board and our town administrator has spent so much time on this when this could have been resolved within minutes is beyond comprehension. I responded the day I first heard the request. Why did I not respond to Mr. Jarvis? Why did I not respond to Ms. Lausen? Because it would have been a violation of open meeting law for me to include Mr. Jarvis on my immediate response to Mr. Walker and Chair Mr. Brownell. Because Ms. Lausen, asked me not to contact her. This constant negativity and conspiracy theorizing is damaging to the ability of the board to function and damaging to our relationship to the community. No one wants to be on the select board because it is so deeply dysfunctional. This goes beyond some personal thing with me. This idea of conspiracy is absurd. We are all neighbors and should be able to get the work done for this beautiful town rather than be embroiled by this fake controversy. Mr. Jarvis is in the middle of this. It is a travesty that he sits on this board. It is a travesty that Fred Miller and Michelle Peckrell sit on the Planning Commission. I will no longer be associated with any of them in this capacity. I do hope someone else will have a better run at it. I do hope Mr. Jarvis will be able to work with someone else more collegially and in a more productive manner. I am not sure why, but I walked onto the select board with a target on my back. Hopefully my replacement will not have a target on his, her, or their back. Some will celebrate this and congratulate themselves on winning. Some will think I let them win. This is not a competition. I don't believe anyone wins or loses here. People said I should have a thicker skin and not take things personally. I have a thick skin, but it is highly personal and not worth my time and energy to constantly deflect this nonsense. Anyone who slaps themselves on the back and rejoices in this announcement needs to look inward. If you are proud of yourself for hounding and bullying a member of your local governing body into stepping down, that reflects on you and your character, not mine. I am not going anywhere. My energy and imagination will now be freed to work harder with Discover Pownal and my other dear not-for-profit, Meals on Wheels. We have great work ahead of us with the next phase of Cherry Court. It has been wonderful to work with Doug Kosmicki on his vision down on Route 346. I look forward to having more time to continue that work. I am so grateful for the countless people who came to say hello at the polls the other day. It warmed my heart at a time that needed warming. I am thrilled to have been elected as a Justice of the Peace. I am and will always be here for you. Finally, it would be fiscally irresponsible, especially as the election expenses are already over budget, as Mr. Walker mentioned, and unnecessarily time-wasting to have a special vote for a new member of the Select Board to finish a term that has less than 4 months and only a handful of meetings to go. As my final act as a member on the board, I make a recommendation to the board for Suzanne Karaman to replace me for the remainder of my term, if she agrees to, and that you have a special meeting within the next week to vote and appoint. And here is my written resignation. As I said, it's for after executive session, so I will remain for our executive session, and when we come out of it, I am no longer a member of the board.
Okay. Regrettably, to have you do that, but that's your choice, and it is your statement as read, which you have the right to do.
Mr. Chair, I think we're at new business unless you want to vote that regrettably take her.
Resignation?
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna have it in the mail next week, right? Or next meeting? Mm-hmm. So we'll wait until that time to take it in the mail and make the statement.
And we are now at new business.
Okay, new business. No new business. Old business. We have a legal and we have a personnel issue.
Requested we go into executive session for both legal and personnel.
I
Okay.
motion that we go into executive session.
I'll second it.
And this is for legal, this one. Okay, those that are not involved with this can go into the other room, and then I think one of you might be involved in the personnel, if not two of you afterwards.
Yeah.
Motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, we're doing the process of hiring a new town road crew member. I need a motion to hire
Michael Belleville.
the person.
Michael Belleville.
Okay, so I get a motion to hire Michael Belleville.
I'll make that motion that we hire Michael Belleville for
I'll
the
second.
new road crew member.
And I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Bob?
Aye.
Ron said aye. Jenny said
I'm going to abstain.
Joe.
Aye.
aye, and I said aye. Okay, so four, with one abstention. Okay, with that done,
Before you adjourn the meeting, we have, South Stream Road is done with the paving. I'm just working on getting it striped now, getting the lines back on it. So Burrington Road will, if we're gonna do it, be done in the spring. We have a bunch of bad weather coming, they're talking about snow, and if we have to put salt down, then the black topping's pretty much done anyhow.
How are we with the shoulders on South Stream Road? We're gonna have to put some material down there.
Just got it done today, yes, if
Driveways.
time permits, if we don't get
Weather holds up.
more snow.
hammered or whatever, or yes, the driveways, we're gonna start that
Are
tomorrow.
all passable? Okay, good.
No, yeah, we're gonna start that tomorrow. Also, our road erosion and culvert inventory is done. It's filed with the state, we have our own report.
Told them last meeting.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay,
so we're good with that.
Yeah.
okay, and this is under others, so people know, because usually at the end, sometimes I'll say, is there other things people wish to say?
Oh, I apologize, I jumped the gun.
No, it's,
You're okay,
you know, I
it's fine.
explained some of that stuff last,
Okay.
yeah, I got it updated.
Okay. Is
I
there-
always update them on-
Is there any other business before the board before we adjourn?
Yes. So I did some research
Want to
and
uncover the mic so you can hear?
Sorry about that.
I didn't do that. Imagine. So this is all from the VLCT. While a resignation does not have to be accepted, I think it will make it cleaner if the board does accept it, because the resignation has to be official before you can appoint someone else. And the VLCT says the select board has an obligation to appoint someone to that seat forthwith, as soon as possible. The select board may fill the vacancy prior to posting notice, though not prior to the creation of the vacancy. So, you can read the rest of this. A notice has to go up within 10 days that it's happened, but
What you're reading from is the VLCT news reprint, to ask the league, basically, how do we fill a vacancy or vacancies on the select board, if you were to look it up underneath VLCT, is what's being read to us.
and I actually spoke with a lawyer at VLCT who sent this information to me.
Yeah, we've been through this a couple times, and I've had those things read off to me,
Yeah.
so I know.
And I'd like to say that I have, I know I've thought about this because with Nelson being elected the state rep, I thought myself that whether you were going to stay on or not. And I have spoken with Sue Karaman, and she did say at the time, that if we had a vacancy, that she would step in and finish the rest of the. I think we're down to 4 months,
months, yes.
about 8 meetings. With that said, I'd make a motion once we formally accept your resignation, that we appoint Sue Kerriman to fill in the
Well-
the remainder.
It wasn't in the mail, but it was given to us. So there's a couple ways to do this. One is to accept her resignation, and then you got a vacancy.
Okay.
What I was doing was saying that, giving Jenny time to think and other people to think before we accept your resignation. Because if we don't accept your resignation, you're a member. You don't show up if you don't want to, but you are a member of the board, so be aware.
Although it does say that you don't have to accept my resignation.
That's right. It says
So-
it clearly. So
It's
be,
very clear.
I've had that mentioned to
Yeah.
me before too.
Yeah.
So basically, that's the piece, with a little cool down period, some things to go. Or we could accept it. I don't know. Bob, do you think we should be accepting that resignation tonight, or should we be waiting a while?
Well, if she wants to resign, then I don't see why we don't accept the resignation. But I would also say that we probably need to give some time to think about appointing versus an election.
Well, that's my point. I'm thinking, I don't know anybody more, capable at this point and up to speed on where we are. Being, she was just on the board less than a year ago. I think we need to continue moving along here, and I think it's important we have 5 members sitting here, or 5 members participating in our meetings.
And it tells us that we need to do it forthwith and as soon as possible. Bob, I used the same argument you just did when there was a different bunch of members on this board, when somebody resigned, and I was told just that, and they appointed somebody. So I know where you're sitting.
Okay, if I could just chime in, we're not talking about, we're talking about making that decision. We had talked about before, making these sort of snap decisions in one meeting. No one knew that there was going to be a resignation until it happened. So not even getting until the next meeting to think about this or to research it. I haven't researched it. I don't know what all the ins and outs are, and circumventing a will of the people it seems a little odd to me that elected officials can appoint their successors. That's almost what we're doing.
No, I'm not. I would not be a part of appointing. That's not true. It would be the remaining people on the board. You have to accept my resignation. I would not be part of the vote.
Couldn't be part.
I couldn't be part of the vote because I would not be on the board anymore. I have done the research. It does need to be done immediately because you're about to go into budget time. And you can't, the next meeting is not until the beginning of December when you start the budget. If you delay this, then you're not going to have someone on the board during important decisions, and you're going to waste town money on having an election when we're already over budget. If you're able to appoint, you should.
Bob, I did exactly what your suggestion is, and I caught some flack from that from upstate because my statement was a little different. It was not to fill it because we were so close to the March election. We were like maybe 8 weeks or something from it or less, which is about where we are now. And that's when what was just read here was read to me, and that board at that time appointed somebody that moment. So I know where you're at.
So I think I gotta go back. I made a motion, so.
You have to motion
Yeah, I didn't have a
accepting my
second.
resignation.
Oh, okay, I'm
first.
sorry. I'd make the motion that we accept Jenny Duar's resignation tonight.
You need a second.
I can second it because I'm still on the board until it's voted on. So I second the motion to accept my resignation.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to say a couple words on this.
Go ahead, Ron.
We had some people die.
Yes,
So
right.
of course, that's a resignation. They were gone.
Yep,
And,
that's another one, yeah.
We did 3 different people that I've seen that passed away.
Yep.
We did 3 different things.
Yep,
That's right.
We didn't have this. We didn't go by this thing. We set our own. Well, what are we gonna do? One we didn't replace,
that's right.
first guy.
Yep.
And then after that, then I think the third one, I think we
Did it right away.
did it right away. The second one, we had an election.
Yeah, I think we waited until
That was me. You wouldn't appoint me, remember? You
But
didn't
that
want-
was
you
because
didn't-
there
that
was
the
a
third
good
one?
amount of time.
I don't remember, it was it was a death, after a death.
That's right. Well, that was after, yeah, well, that was the last
we
one.
waited
That was
for the
when,
vote.
But that was about 2
when
years
Palmer,
of appointing,
when
not,
Palmer died.
not 6
When
meetings.
Proudy
We,
died.
yeah, we had an election and Sue got appointed when Palmer died.
That's
Because we had an
And
election.
she had a year and a half as opposed to
Right.
3
So we
months.
waited until the election with that one.
right. So, I mean, we've done it 3 different ways. So, I mean, I don't,
Look, we're talking less than 4 months here. We're talking about 8 meetings, 7 meetings.
If you're lucky. Yeah.
So Jenny, you should stick it out.
It's what I tell her. Well, I got a motion, I got a second.
Well, Nelson, can I chime in? I mean, I'm looking at the VLCT's Municipal Assistance Center FAQs, and all of those are options. It does not say that we have to do this immediately. Now, maybe I'm not looking at the right document, but this is the FAQs for how do you fill elected positions through the select board.
He's even
It is
instructed by
24
resignation.
VSA 96. Okay, if you look up the statute.
You sure you wanna do it?
VSA 96, you said?
24 VSA 961A. They're citing statute is what they're doing here. I know because, and like I said, this was stuck in front of my nose once. Because I wanted to wait.
Well, I guess for health reasons and stress level.
see, we're very fortunate. We can have the TA have that budget all ready for us.
That's what we're hoping.
Not stopping, are you?
Trying to help you out.
Oh, yeah, you are, right? You're gonna help
Did
her,
you,
Ronnie.
are you finding it, Bob?
Yeah, what were the last numbers? It was the 24 VSA 96.
961A.
I knew that was coming because somebody told me.
Hey, we're on.
So in other words, reading this carefully, the board could appoint, and then there could be a petition to elect, which probably the petition wouldn't get in. You got 30 days, I think, from the petition, which basically would be March anyways. So, any way you look at it, we're so close to March. If somebody was appointed, their term's gonna be very short.
If I'm reading it right, though, when a town officer resigns his or her office, or has been removed thereof, or dies, or is unable to perform, blah blah blah, notice of this vacancy shall be posted by the legislative body in at least 2 public places in the town, and in or near the town clerk's office within 10 days of the creation of the vacancy.
Keep reading.
In the event there are so many vacancies that the select board has a quorum cannot be achieved. Okay, that's not it. The legislative body of a county, municipality, or special purpose district may designate a person to perform the duties of an officer whose duties have been suspended as a condition of release pending trial for violation, and that's all for violation stuff. And that's it. That's the whole 24 VSA 961. Oh, this is 961.
A.
A.
961A.
The lawyer gave this to me.
It says the select board has an obligation to appoint someone to that seat forthwith.
Well, I guess my thing is, I haven't got a vote on the acceptance of the resignation. That's the motions in front of me. Is somebody gonna call the motion so I get a vote on this?
Oh, he made the
We
motion.
made it and she seconded it.
But we're debating and talking about it right now. If somebody
Okay.
calls it, I have to call the vote.
Okay. I made the motion that we accept Jenny's.
Are you
Resignation.
calling the vote?
I'm calling it.
The
I'm
vote?
calling the vote.
All right, I'm calling the vote. Ronnie, what's your vote? Do we accept her resignation at this time or not?
Yes. Aye, whatever.
Jason?
Aye, yes.
Aye.
You can't.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, you are now officially resigned from the board. You
I'm
are
now
off.
sitting as a member of the public.
So at this point, she's out there in the public. So now we as the members have a resignation in front of us. So what is our obligation in the next step?
To fill that position.
Well, I need a motion to fill that position if that's where you want to go. You made a motion
I make a motion, we fill that position
with,
with Suzanne Karaman.
can I get a second?
According to the way I read it, that's, we can appoint, we appointed somebody last time,
Sure,
didn't we? I
sure.
think so.
So
We've done it
you,
all three ways though, that's the only thing, so, the way I'm reading it, I don't think we're breaking the law, so.
I don't need
I know we're not. I know because I checked it because you guys did it. I need an aye to appoint, not an aye, I need a second to Sue.
Okay.
I got a second, okay? So Jason made it, you seconded it. Discussion. Okay, Bob. You still there?
I am. I find it hard to believe that we can't even wait until the next select board meeting. That it has to be done right now. That's really beyond me.
Well, the board could do that if they wish, but they made a motion.
All right. Well, I'll say no.
Okay, so I'm calling the vote. He said, Bob said no. Jason?
Yes.
Ronnie?
Gee, oh, that's a tough one, I hate doing this. But, well, we got somebody else to blame our screw-ups on, I guess, if
That's
we
right.
appoint her, so go ahead.
So it's an aye?
Yeah, it's an aye.
Okay, I got an aye. And to make it so it's the majority of the board, I'll do aye also. So we have a new member who hasn't even accepted yet, which might turn around and tell us to go buzz off. So, so be aware, even though we're appointing, it doesn't, I don't know if she'll accept or not. But that's where we're at. Okay, so the motion was made, seconded, and the vote has been taken. Is there any other business before us tonight? If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved to adjourn.
Get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Bob?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
Aye.
Jason, aye, and I'm aye.